Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale. Ni hao, chunushumme, washmale, ohio gonzaimas, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, halishuma chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabia, balli kare aaya, hosh galden, and thank you very much everybody for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching What This Morning. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and with me, I'm very lucky to have been joined by Miss Maheen Jaffrey. Hello, Maheen. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shahzad, how are you? I am doing perfectly well, and I welcome all of my viewers to World This Morning. How have you been?
Well, so far so good, and next time if you welcome your viewers, make sure that you say that, we welcome our viewers as well. And I promised you this, that I will keep on pulling your leg as well, because I think that it gives
absolutely fine.
something to smile about to our viewers as well out there. But I hope that you're doing perfectly well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us.
Absolutely.
Are you ready?
Yes.
So let's see what top stories do we have over here with us, ladies and gentlemen, today. What's happening all over Pakistan, how we really need to keep ourselves hydrated. But first things first, let's talk about the future of Pakistan's democracy. So ladies and gentlemen, while we actually talk about the future of Pakistan's democracy, I think it is very pertinent to say that the Minister for Law and Justice, Senator Azam Nazir Tar, said that the top agenda of the present government is to introduce electoral reforms in the country, as it would ensure transparency in the democratic process. Electoral Reform Committee would further discuss all legal points to ensure the rights of overseas Pakistanis, adding PMLN would support the right to vote for Pakistanis abroad under a democratic approach and principles. Wow, this might make a lot of overseas Pakistanis very happy and ecstatic, because I think everybody should actually have the right to vote as well. What do you say?
Exactly, Shahzad. We are a democratic nation and we know how to uphold the values. Another thing that is happening right now, it's very unusual, is the weather phenomena that has entered our country, and like heat wave is really soaring, the temperatures are soaring, and they're likely to remain 7 to 9 degrees above normal in Punjab, Islamabad, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir, while 6 to 8 degrees above normal in Sindh and Balochistan. The general public has been advised to take precautionary measures to avoid the heat wave.
I think one of the most important precaution measure would be to stay back at home, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure that you do not step outside your houses unnecessarily. Keep yourselves hydrated. Make sure that you're using a lot of sunblock as well. All of these important steps you really need to take so that God forbid, you're not being gripped by that heat wave, which actually exists, and it exists because of climate change as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been contributing towards climate change, but I think it's about time that we kind of hold on to practices which will actually kind of eradicate the kind of climate change which has been taking place, because a lot of islands been depleting, a lot of water has been depleted as well. So please make sure that each and every one of you is looking after the country and its resources.
And all the people around you, especially the stray animals, because they die every year. So we have to keep plenty of water around us, all the nooks and corners of the streets.
That was wonderful, and that was a sweet message as well, even for the birds as well. But now coming down to cars, because I love cars myself, and I'm into cars business too as well. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine that robots are actually painting cars as well. A robot using new spray paint technology has reproduced artwork by a child prodigy on a car with zero waste. The abstract nature of his work would be impossible to reproduce accurately by hand, but the pixel paint system developed by engineering company ABB reproduced a monochrome work he described as a winged zebra Pegasus in less than 30 minutes. Wow. Where is technology headed? Would you actually want your car to be painted by your son or your daughter or somebody,
Well, I think from a robot, of course, because this is
not from your...
I cannot take the risk of my car being painted by my daughter.
because we have seen a lot of kids actually kind of drawing a lot of things onto the walls.
That would be more like graffiti kind of a thing. And you don't want to drive around in a car that looks like a wall painting or something.
Or probably a winged zebra Pegasus as well, for that matter as well. But ladies and gentlemen, on other stories, I think credit's due where it's due as well, because today we actually are observing the death anniversary of the father of humor, Mr. Sayyid Zamir Jafri Saab as well. Because, ladies and gentlemen, to be very honest, I think when we speak about Sayyid Zamir Jafri Saab, he obviously happens to be one of the most famous for his humor in Urdu and known as Baba-e-Zarafat. Sayyid Zamir Jafri is being remembered on his death anniversary today. Zamir Jafri was born on January 1st, 1916 in Jhelum. He became famous for his Urdu humorous poetry and also wrote humorous numerous columns in the newspapers and periodicals. He has written many books. Zamiriyat is full collection of his poetry. He has a wide readership across the globe, and he died on May 12th, 1999. May his soul rest in peace and patience for the bereaved.
I mean, this was such an important thing that you just talked about, you know, spreading smiles, and this humorous thing, even in literature, is so important. And moving on now, something very important. Today we are observing the International Day for Nurses all over the world. And International Nurses Day is being observed today to pay tribute basically to the contribution of nurses towards people's health. This year, theme of the day is Nurses, a Voice to Lead, a vision for future healthcare to look into the ways in which the profession will transform in future. Day holds significance as COVID-19 pandemic continues to wreak havoc in different parts of the world, and nurses are at the forefront of fighting pandemic, providing treatment and care.
Wow, and I'm glad that we are observing it with full zeal and fervor as well. And it's because of the fact, ladies and gentlemen, when we actually talk about nurses, I think a lot of people might not even know how to pay due respect to their profession.
True.
And it's because of the fact that, you know, that we haven't been raised like that. But ladies and gentlemen, believe you me, you know, when we as a patient go to a doctor and the doctor tells us to be admitted in a hospital, or we just go for a checkup, I think most of the time it's the nurses who uphold the morals of how nursing really needs to be. And, you know, to be very honest, I think at this point of time, we really need to mention that, you know, on 12th of May, the International World Nurses Day is being observed because of the founder of modern nursing, who happens to be the Florence Nightingale as well. But ladies and gentlemen, imagine that it was COVID. You know, we have been paying rich tributes to all of those doctors who've been around as well and labeling them as the frontline workers. But hey, you know, you really need to kind of pay respect, and we really need to pay tribute to all of those nurses who've been out there day in, day out. Does not really matter what's going on within their own family. Ladies and gentlemen, they will leave their family behind every single day to make sure that they are going to look after people who they're responsible for at the same time. But ladies and gentlemen, if the nurses wouldn't have been around for a longer period of time, I never think that the mankind would have existed as we exist as of now. Let's talk about midwives as well, how their jobs or how their work is unaccounted for as well, and how we really do not know how to respect them. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about modern nursing, we really need to pay tribute to each and every individual. May it be male nurses, may it be female nurses. They are the ones who actually are responsible for our well-being, and they always make sure that they're going to be out there, they're going to be the frontline warriors, and that they will help each and every soul who is in need of help. Today, we are paying tribute to all of those nurses who are out there, so which is why we actually have a tribute video for all of the nurses world over. Please go ahead and take a look.
Never believe that a few caring people can't change the world. They brave the dark and hold the courage to face the unknown.
The city has been especially hard hit by the virus. Citizens have been urged to remain at home.
They risk their lives for mine and yours, and are burdened with the worry of their own family while taking care of others. They are there to welcome the first breath of a newborn and comfort those who are taking their last. They feel their pain and witness their struggles. They cry with them, laugh with them, and hold their hand through it all. They've seen humanity at its worst and continue to roll with the punches. They are the fearless first. Despite it all, while we are sleeping, they stay with them by their side, doing what they need to do to heal the injured, help the sick, and nurse them back to health. And while we may not remember their names, we will never forget how they make us feel. Never think that a few caring people can't change the world. Because those nurses who believe that care is the real cure usually do.
And definitely, ladies and gentlemen, each and every one of us really needs to pay tribute to all the nurses of our nation, nurses world over. But I think today is the day when we actually kind of sort of raise awareness and talk about the challenges they face every single day. Imagine, I still remember that there were a few hospitals where the nurses weren't even provided by proper, or they weren't even provided the proper PPEs while it was COVID as well. Imagine they'd never had that equipment, but they've always been out there. If it was up to me to refer to nurses, I would refer to them as a mother. I think that's another name for them as well. May it be the first day of the child when they are born, or may it be the last day over here on this earth as well, ladies and gentlemen. These are the people who are always around us and make sure that there's ease in our life as well. So to raise awareness, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've been joined with some wonderful nurses over here today who've actually dedicated their entire lives to the well-being of the people who have been within those hospitals where they were serving as well.
I would like to add something. I read a quote where they said, when you save one life, you're a hero, but when you save thousands of lives, you are a nurse.
Wow,
So
wow, that's wonderful as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we have been saying that humanity itself is a religion, and the flag bearers of humanity are definitely nurses as well. So we're very lucky that we've actually been joined with somebody who happens to be the Vice Principal, Foundation University College of Nursing. Ladies and gentlemen, she happens to be Major Fawzia Jabbeen Saiba. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum assalam. It's very nice to be here, and really it's opportunity to provide this forum at national forum, that we can raise our voice and we can communicate to our nation that what we are doing and what
what should be done as well.
What should be done.
Thank you very much, Maji, and that's how I'm going to refer to you as well, alongside Major Fawzia Saiba. Ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we've been joined by the Deputy Matron, FFH as well. She happens to be Major Shazia Qurban Saiba. Hello, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Walaikum assalam. Today I'm very happy to see a new world, not PTV world, new world.
New world.
here.
What a comment.
Today is very pleasant day for me and all my colleagues.
MashaAllah.
Lovely.
And thank you
Today
very
is,
much for joining us, and we
International
want
Nurses Day.
every single day to be pleasant for all the nurses who are out there and for all the people who are out there as well. Last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky that we've been joined by the Principal, Islamabad Nursing College. She happens to be Miss Captain Hira Ejaz Saiba. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, good morning. I'm very well. Thank you so much for inviting me in your show, and I'm feeling so honored while I can communicate, I can raise the voice of all the nurses on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. And Miss Maheen actually wants to take the lead, so I will allow her to take the lead, please.
Definitely. So I'd like to ask Ma'am Fawzia, so how do you emphasize in this day as we are celebrating International Day for Nurses, how would you raise awareness from this platform?
It's really it's high time to raise our voice and give an awareness to our nation and our young generation that they should join nursing, because nursing is a promising profession. When I joined nursing about 35 years back, that time was very simple, and we don't know about the nursing. There was just that the nursing, they are giving the injections and tablet, but the nursing is far away from that.
So
that is very high. That is in my this career, I have seen the nursing is very different. The way people see it, they have very secondary role. It's not like that. Nurses have the primary role, because they are working directly with the patient. They are direct care providers, and we should emphasize that the nurses should get their rights. It's not that only we talk about the right. We should talk about our duties also.
True.
That the young nurses and the senior nurses, every nurse should first give the duty and then ask about the rights of the nurses.
And I believe that it's a very important point which you've raised over here, that each and every nurse who's out there, obviously we need to raise awareness and we need to kind of speak about their jobs and their professions as well. But the point which you were trying to raise over here is that they really need to fulfill their job first, and then obviously talk about and demand their rights. And it's wonderful, which is why I'm going to move on to Ms. Shazia as well. So Ms. Shazia, when we talk about nursing, obviously over here in Pakistan we see it, because today we're talking about how to pay respect to that one profession which saves life, which makes our lives more easier and beautiful.
better.
Because God forbid, if a nurse actually forgets about giving one injection only, I think it can actually wreak a havoc as well. So how important do you think this day is for all of the nurses world over?
I think this is very important day because all nurses play crucial role in, critical role in nursing.
True.
Because without nurse, healthcare system is collapsed.
True.
Exactly.
So she
And talking about a healthcare system where in Pakistan, where obviously there are so many other challenges, we certainly cannot afford another challenge, and that
Right,
in the form of
right.
shortage of nurses as well.
And there's a misconception as well, Shahzad.
Yes.
What is that?
That is that only doctors maybe are the backbone of health services.
no,
I think
no,
nurses
no.
and doctors
it's not
both
true.
are.
It's not
Yes.
true. Backbone of the hospital is nurses.
Always.
Can
Because
I add
without
something?
nurse
Yes,
we
please.
cannot do anything.
Health services, they are teamwork. It's not only the doctor and nurse. There are so many other team members, and we should work together.
Exactly.
Even our cleaner, that is very important. With that person, we cannot maintain our ward, and we cannot maintain our hospital. So
Exactly.
it's teamwork. Every person is very important, whether it is doctor, nurse, or nursing assistant, and whoever is working in the healthcare setting. They are
Right.
all important, and they should get due respect.
Exactly,
respect,
and
very
you know
well deserved.
the aspect of respect, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be in your life. You know, may it be nurses, may it be doctors, may it be anyone. You know, because it definitely shows up your upbringing as well. But I seriously want to kind of talk about how there was a shift from very conventional nursing and to modern nursing as well. And since you happen to be principal for a nursing school as well, so I would certainly want to ask you, how was nursing if you go back in time, probably 1950s, and how do you think nursing is as of today?
Yeah, nursing in 90s, say we can say from the beginning, it was taken as occupation,
Alright.
and nurses were supposed to work in hospital settings under the supervision and guidance of the physicians, because there were there were absolutely no nursing institutes. They can those who can train the nurses and build their capacity to work independently. So as there was lack of education and the degrees that can be offered to the nurses, because of that, the nursing was not a profession. But now nursing is a profession, and we have qualified nurses with us. We have institutes, universities that are giving them best education in Pakistan as well. So now nurses have upgraded their qualification as well as their practical standards to provide best possible care to their
And
patients.
this is what I exactly wanted to talk about as well, that do you think that having a more professional degree rather than a more professional skill set is better, or do you think that the skill set really needs to be enhanced rather than the educational degree?
Or both.
Or the academic, yes.
Yeah, I think this area need to be highlighted, that profession is area of practice where we have knowledge and skills.
Yep.
Both
So
of them.
without knowledge, skill, we can't use our skill appropriately, and without skill, we can't use our knowledge. So knowledge and skill go side by side.
Side
So
by
both
side.
are important. So this is the reason the degree program of the nurses is designed in a way that it enable them knowledge-wise, or it enhances the theoretical aspects of the nursing, and then their practice is actually the evidence-based, like what is best practice. So yes, here comes the role of the institutes. They must focus on the knowledge as well as on the skills of the nurses.
Exactly, and that's wonderful, which is why I want to actually move on to the vice principal of the Foundation College of Nursing as well. So ma'am, you know, when we talk about, you know, nursing as a profession, how do you think, or you know, what activities or what do you think a nurse is actually supposed to do throughout the day? Can you please take us through as well, that from the very beginning of her job, of his job, what are they supposed to do all throughout the day?
And I would like to add something as well.
You
Can
like to add so many things,
Yes,
huh?
yes.
Always we
I
can
love
add.
that. I love that. So can you also tell us how do you teach them stress management, because there's so much stress which is involved in their job.
If there is.
Yes, there is. The stress is
A part of the
Very
job.
much a
some
part of
stress
that.
is good, but the lot of stress, and when that is beyond your control, that is bad.
Yep.
We teach stress management to our student, like we told them how to manage their time, how to split their time or for the study, for their other activities, co-curricular activities, and how can they take help from their peers, groups, their teachers. We used to keep the counseling session for our students. And if you ask the routine, that is very tough routine. We start our day from 8 o'clock and till 1500 hours, till 3 o'clock, we used to keep on doing back-to-back classes and all these things. And in between, there are so many things. Managing of students, listening of problem of the student is not the only problems of the students related to academics. Their family, we are their family, we are their playing role as mother. The teacher is like mother. We have to listen them. So many things we came through, but I used to manage that. And I also teach my students, not teach, I share so many things of my experience with my students, how to manage these stresses and how to manage their the things and how they can
how to be on time.
How to plot the time and how they can meet their objectives of the day, of the degree, of the life.
So achieving their daily goals, obviously,
Daily goals,
that
yes.
mentorship is required. Moving on to you, Ms. Shazia. Now, when we talk about nurses world over, I think that one of the most basic and one of the most important skills they really need to acquire is making sure that each and every time they are next to the patient, they're full of hygiene, they're looking after that as well. And that's the most important aspect as well. But when we talk about nurses, obviously, the nurses are going to help the elderly, the nurses are going to help a baby who's 1 year old, probably people who cannot even move from their beds, looking after them, changing their diapers, all of what a mother does for their kid,
Yes,
it's the
exactly.
nurses are doing for the elderly and for the kids as well. So how do you instill this value of hygiene and making sure that every time they're next to a patient, because we do get lazy, even while it was COVID, we weren't sanitizing as much, so we were lazy for ourselves. So how a nurse actually keeps up that standard of hygiene?
First of all, they start their work with hand hygiene. Hand hygiene is the first step for cleanliness. If we do first, then we make our patient safe. Cleanliness is very important for patient, not only for patient, it is also important
For
for
their
herself. Because if the nurse is not healthy, patient care, patient stay in hospital, patient relative stay, economically stay is the burden of family.
True.
Right.
So,
Shahzad, I happen to have an experience in a hospital and where I saw these nurses, and there was a 7-step hand cleaning thing that the doctor
Process.
was actually teaching the nurse. You have to, wash your hands, and then you have to clean it again and wipe it again and do the thing.
It's like
and
OCD.
yes.
Yes, exactly. It was, kind of that.
Can I say something?
Sure.
For hand hygiene, as you said, there are so many challenges, during the COVID, we have seen the protective
The PPEs weren't even
PPEs
provided.
were not provided. Even you can visit so many hospitals, there's no soap, no water available,
true.
no sanitizers available. How we can expect from the nurses? They have to manage their hand hygiene. Even we used to ask our students to keep their sanitizer
Their
bottles with
bags. Right.
And thank you very much for saying that, because talking about sanitizer bottles, ladies and gentlemen, what we do is we take advantage of opportunities as humans. We certainly have not been able to instill the values of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, if somebody is in need, we certainly really need to extend a hand full of help rather than kind of putting more pressure. So imagine if a nurse actually needs to kind of afford their own sanitizer, they're not even getting paid quite a lot. And this is one of those challenges which I certainly need to talk about. Talking about nursing as a career, ladies and gentlemen, we really need to kind of put more focus on it. One of my mommy, she happens to be a nurse.
It's very small thing, but this is very big thing.
It is
Big
big, and
thing.
it is because of the fact that, one of my mommy, in my in-laws, she happens to be a nurse, and that too in US, and she can happily afford a wonderful household, wherever she's living. So imagine, I'm going to come down to you, miss, and I want to certainly ask that, nursing as a career over here in Pakistan is looked down upon. And, not a lot of people kind of appreciate somebody being a nurse. And this is something which we really need to change. And imagine, do you think a nurse can actually very happily run their household? Do you think that they have a career? Do you think that people they're working for, they think about their future, within the nursing department? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the theme of the year that we are celebrating on the Nurses' Day, it is advocating this aspect.
Exactly.
As the theme is investing in nursing and respecting their rights to secure the global health. If we want nurses to give best quality care to the patients, to serve the community, and so we need to be our nurses to be very healthy, and the health is start from physical, living health, and the mental health.
Yeah.
So, as you said that the nursing profession is not given that respect, and it's not very much appreciated in the society. So, I think these are the reasons. If a nurse is not mentally healthy, she is not maintaining the standards. So, can we blame the nurse for this? I think this is the whole system that needs to care the nurse. She is so important in the healthcare system, and the system is not taking care of the nurse.
Exactly.
So we need to take care of the nurse, and this is the reason that most of our nurses, they are going abroad, because they have better facilities, they have career opportunities there, they have better income, and definitely the job satisfaction. The job satisfaction that they have there and they don't have here. So I think it's a time to think. We just not need to retain the nurse, not need to train the nurses only, but we need to retain the nurses.
Exactly.
So train and
important.
retain the nurses.
And we need to educate the people as well who are out there as well. So very important two questions towards the end of this segment, ma'am. Number one, obviously, when we talk about unprecedented health issues or probably a pandemic, just like COVID hit, all over the world, how do you think that we prepare all sorts of nurses out there that they really need to be prepared for any such unprecedented event? How do we take those measures?
Actually, when COVID started, then we realized, even in our College of Nursing, we don't have well-trained nurses for intensive care, because the many patients, they were on ventilator, and there was very low number of nurses who can take care of the patients on ventilator or who are trained for intensive care units.
Exactly.
And we have to take care of this area. We should not wait for any disaster or any communicable disease. We should keep good number of trained nurses in intensive care.
True.
Like we have to give them post-basic courses opportunity to train them. So we can have the good number to face any disaster and manage the disaster.
And that's important because
even it's not time of any disaster or a COVID type of communicable disease, but at any time you need your well-trained nurses in intensive care, your dialysis area, pediatric, that is very sensitive area.
And,
So
and ma'am,
should
these
give-
days, I'm very sorry that I'm intercepting or interjecting as well, but these days I believe that, that people now, alhamdulillah, are kind of learning that, the nurses can actually help their elderly parents as well. So what they do is that they
Geriatric nursing,
have them
that is
over to
very
their
important.
houses because,
Yes.
It's a trend now.
everybody's
Yes.
kind of working and, they want people to kind of look after their parents, and it's great. So which means that we do have ample human
And
resource.
if we trained our nurses for community health services, that is very important, and it's very sad to say that we don't have friends in Pakistan of community health nursing, and we don't have positions in government. Even at community health centers, there is no position, proper position for a nurse.
Exactly.
Which she deserves, because if she is degree nurse, if she have done the masters, she have to have a good position over there.
Exactly.
And we can lessen the burden of the hospitals while we providing preventive care at the community level, at the doors of the
At the doorstep.
doorstep of the
Exactly, that's
community.
wonderful. But towards the end, I'm very sorry, but I'm going to bring this up as well, and it might be a very harsh question. And so right at the beginning of the program, you mentioned that each and every nurse out there really needs to fulfill their duty 100% and from the core of their heart. Now imagine we live in a community, we live in a society where we, unfortunately, I'm not saying that it's you, but I'm saying that there are people within your own profession who actually behave like vultures at times as well. Imagine we have talked about nurses who've actually given away somebody else's kid to somebody else, who have actually helped people jump queues, or probably who have actually helped people send them to a doctor who wasn't really a doctor. How do you think that we eradicate such a menace from this very profession of nobility and novelty as well?
Yeah.
Please.
Uh,
Whoever wants to answer. I want all three of you to answer this
Yes.
question.
You can start in the.
Yeah, I
mean,
think this is the lacking over the education and training of the nurses. If the institutes, they are not preparing the nurses that we need in our society, that they are not following the cultural values, or maybe there may be some other challenges because of that they are unable to fulfill the professional obligations, and they are unable to follow the professional values and ethical principles.
Or would you blame the hospitals for hiring people who certainly do not have any degree or background of the work?
Yes,
Certainly,
yeah,
certainly.
definitely.
They
Because
are responsible.
if we talk about the numbers, so we have around 1,500 graduate nurses in Pakistan.
Only?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. So 1,500.
So
How come we are hiring
15,000.
15,000
15,000
degree
nurses.
nurses.
Even
Even
that's
that is a low
that's
number.
less.
That's
It's very
so
less number.
we have shortfall of 1.7 million nurses according to our population range, and the
I think we
nurse
read the same
patient,
article.
yeah, the nurse patient ratio is very high. So we are expecting our nurse to take care of 70 patients, 50 patients. So how we think?
So how come the
Yeah.
hospitals are hiring if we have such low number of people?
You know,
who
they're
have
not even
actually,
looking into their degrees. You know,
Yes.
they're like, okay,
Yeah.
banda
So-
chahiye, aa jao yaar.
Yes,
Yes,
they are
it's true.
they are not the degree persons. They are the less qualified, and they are just labeling them the nurses. They are not nurses.
Exactly.
I'm 100%
So very quickly towards the end, you know, I want to move on to Miss Shazia, because a lot of times she was about to say something, but she kept quiet.
She had to.
What is your take on this?
I think about nursing, my thought is that nurse should be empowered.
Empowered, yes.
Empowered,
Do we have a check and balance system?
Yes, we have a very strict check and balance system, because our client is nowadays very
Aware, yes.
that.
Only we have
There's
people
no
like
doubt.
Major
Yes.
Shazia and Major
There's no doubt
Fauziya, I
about
think,
it.
or Captain
and
Saiba
we
as well.
have our nursing council. They give license to practice to the nurses, and
Exactly.
if the nurse is not following the ethical principles and the
Exactly.
professional standards, her
So the license will be revoked, right?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yes.
the institutions and hospital whoever is recruiting the nurses, if they are not checking their degrees and diplomas and whatever requirement is, why? Because they are paying less. If they are paying 15,000 or 20,000, who degree nurse is going to join them?
And you know, why do you
And
think
this
that,
is
you
very
know, they
sad.
would be able to invest in their degree when you're only paying them 15,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees, which I believe, you know, these days driver is actually kind of earning more than
More
a
than
nurse as
that.
well. And
Yes.
we're not demeaning any other profession as well. But thank you very much, ma'am. We're very short on
Thank
time,
you.
but we
Thank you
certainly
very
want to
much.
congratulate you, because it's your day today. Please make sure that every single day, each and every one of you brings a newer and a positive difference in our lives and a positive change as well. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, I think one of the most important aspects of being a nurse is to actually have a big smile. And to have a big smile, ladies and
Spread
gentlemen, we
happiness.
really need to be in conversation with a dentist who can actually tell us how can we actually have a bigger smile and a beautiful smile.
Sorry to interrupt
problem.
you. At the
It's
end,
your day.
I want to give a message to
Sure.
my nation, my
Please.
young nurses, that nursing is my pride, and please make this profession is passion and make your pride.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, nurses, for being with us. You know, we pay rich tribute
Thank
to you
you.
on behalf of PT World and the entire nation. For everybody who's out there, how to have a great smile is something we will be talking about in the next,
The next
segment.
segment.
Please make sure that you start smiling. All right? We'll be back, right back after a short break.
Welcome back. And Shahzad, you were talking about smiling. What was that about?
I'm still smiling, ladies and gentlemen. The best curve on a human body is definitely a smile, and to make sure that you actually have a great smile, you really need to go and visit a dentist. And we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by a dentist over here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to welcome her back. She's been a regular on the show as well. She actually happens to be a dentist, a public health specialist, lecturer at high-tech dental college at a very tender age, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be Dr. Fatima Zahra. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. So you are that one person who actually gives us immaculate and wonderful smiles. And I thought you weren't smiling early in the morning. Why aren't you smiling yourself?
That's the motivation of being on the show. You every time appreciates my smile as well.
Thank you very much. So first things first, how important is oral hygiene, and how do you think that we really teach our kids that, hey, you know what, you really need to start brushing at what age?
Every time I say that it is as important as any other hygiene you need in your life. So the foremost thing why we need oral hygiene, I think to maintain your teeth, your gums, that is the foremost thing. Other than that, I always mention this thing that oral hygiene is also associated with your systemic conditions. Your bad oral hygiene affects your journal health also. So it is very important. For example, if you have a bad, you have a gum disease, it infects your gums and enters your bloodstream, and your bloodstreams get infected and got inflammation, and you get clots and your vessels and things like
Yes,
that.
So
it
it
is
a
also
lot of other diseases.
yes. So that's why we say it is just not your teeth and gums. It is your journal health is included with your oral health.
Exactly. So thank you very much for kind of talking about that, because it is very important for us to actually have very cleaner teeth, and it's because of the fact that we are into public speaking as well. So imagine I had this habit of brushing very hard as well. So so they were receding gums. That was one problem which I always I came across. And then
We all do that, I think.
when I went to my dentist, and she was actually like, hey, you know what? How many times do you brush a day? I was like, whenever I take a bath, I brush. So even if it's 3 times or 4 times, she was like, you know what? You're
overdoing
excessively
it.
brushing as well. So what is the right practice of brushing your teeth? How do you do that?
I think we all are, most of the people who are brushing, we are not following the right regime to brush our teeth. So we generally recommended time for brushing is prior going to bed and after breakfast.
Yeah.
These are the 2 timings that we tell our kids and the adults both that you should follow these 2 times. Again, when we say there's no harm doing it if you're doing it rightly. So what is the right method? This is the timings what I told. The right method is you should gently brush your teeth. Brush your teeth with the right brush. You should use soft brushes. Even I personally recommend electric toothbrush as well. So they are very advanced now. They even sense the amount of pressure you give to your gums.
Right.
So it helps the process, what you said, recession. So you can prevent recessions and things like that with these kind of brushes.
So God forbid, if you have recession in your gums now, you can obviously stop it, but it can never recover. Is that true?
We can make it better. We can make it. There are surgeries, there are periodontal procedures that we can do to make them better.
Okay, a quick tip for parents who say कि दूध के दांत हैं गिर जाएंगे, such practices, they don't care really about the dental hygiene.
Generally, we have concept that the kids less than 6 months or 1 year or even 7 years, they don't need to brush their teeth. We tell our the parents especially that the oral cavity, even a newborn baby needs to be maintained, needs to get his oral cavity cleaned, because there are a lot of tongue infections, fungal infections on their tongues that can happen. So we tell them to clean their tongue and oral cavity with damp cloth or even finger brush. There are a lot of gadgets available. So in less than 6 months, we tell them this. After 6 months, when we have their first eruption of the tooth, we tell them even to clean that first tooth also with soft
and they
brushes.
eat so much sugary foods.
Sugary foods, they're taking milk. The milk contains carbs, and we add sugar to it and content like that. So the parents need to understand that obviously the kid or a neonate he or she cannot do it on herself. So it is important, very important, to clean, and we recommend that till the age of 7 the parents should guide and do the brushing on their kids.
All right, wonderful, and thank you very much for kind of letting all the parents who are out there, or probably making them more aware about when their kids really need to brush as well. Because my daughter, she started brushing when her first ever tooth actually emerged, for us as well. And then it was so hard for us to kind of hide the brush, because each and every time, the brush would always be in the
That's
mouth
the right
as well.
practice, I think. This is what she told.
I mean, not having it in your mouth all the time, I think
No,
it's-
of course not.
that's a problem. But now coming down towards dental caries, and I think that's one of the most important and the most talked subject as well, where, God forbid, if we do not kind of look into it at a significant time, God forbid, we really need to get a lot of fillings in our mouths as well. And with fillings, I mean, I'm always scared that, okay, what if I'm performing and my filling comes out as well? So, it's a very risky business. So please go ahead.
When we talk about dental caries is the most widespread disease globally.
True.
Also. So what we can do, we generally tell people it's better to prevent such kind of conditions. A lot of research and regimes and people are striving to permanently arrest it and control it. But until now, we just have the solution of preventing it and then restoring it. So when we talk about prevention, then again it includes maintaining the oral hygiene, following the right regime for brushing, flossing your teeth, using the right toothpaste is also important in case of dental caries. We recommend fluoridated toothpaste. Internationally, this is also lacking on the part of our health system, that in international world there are the schools and their water fluoridation programs there. In the schools, in their water programs, setup programs, that includes their fluoride in their water.
Yeah.
So they address their things with that water fluoridation. But since we don't have that in our country, so we generally recommend fluoridated toothpaste. That's the only solution to prevent here in
Dr.
Pakistan.
Saba, I wanted to ask another thing. There are lots of teeth whitening formulas available in the market. You have activated charcoal.
We have machines these days
You have
as well.
laser pens these days. So what would you say
We have
about
veneers too.
that? Yeah.
Actually, when we talk about teeth whitening, we generally recommend people to get these kind of procedures done in the office. Just to identify that are you the eligible candidate for such a procedure. Because when you have a poor oral hygiene, a bad oral hygiene, compromised generalized dental health, like you're having a lot of caries and gum diseases, and then you're going for a whitening procedure, and then you're using, you already have sensitivity and using whitening toothpaste and whitening kits, that will even worsen your condition. So we generally recommend, if you are going to follow such thing or adapt such thing in your life, then you need to get yourself checked at the clinic.
Thank you very much for saying that, because the next question will absolutely make sense, and I was just thinking whether I should ask you this question or not, because I seriously want to hear it from a dentist perspective. Would you recommend veneers for someone? Because God forbid, if I'm going to put up a layer on my teeth, or probably, I don't know, man, what's going to happen to my original teeth, to be very honest.
To be there.
Yeah, because I don't know. I think they're going to be more stains on it, because we're not cleaning them every single day. That's going to be a huge problem. So would you recommend veneers? And there's so many different techniques these days. People are getting golden teeth and whatnot. There are some translucent and transparent coverings coming up as well. Would you recommend that?
There are two things
Cosmetics.
in that. One, what I already said, with such kind of procedures, we actually identify or diagnose, are you the right candidate for such kind of a procedure or not.
Right.
Like there are conditions like fluorosis or things like that, where people have such bad staining of their teeth, they don't have any other solution rather than going for having a veneer or anything.
But if he puts a layer on that, what happens to his teeth?
Because veneer is actually a
Yes,
layer.
we prepare the tooth, we abrade the surface, and then we put the veneer. So the abrasion or the preparation or the destruction of the tooth is there. So, but we do the procedure in such a manner that we try to conserve as much of the tooth that we can. So again, it depends on what sort of patient is the candidate. But if you're going for the general aesthetic purpose, then that's your own choice.
फिर आपको कोई नहीं समझा सकता. Because then you need it and you think that, okay, I'm going to look beautiful or better. And obviously you should get it as well. Very quickly towards the end. So, over here in Pakistan, we do not certainly have a lot of healthy eating habits as well. There's a lot of fast food, there's a lot of carbonated drinks.
Coffee, chai,
there's a lot of
occasion.
smoking, there's a lot of coffee. Yes, I mean, everything she has said as well. How do you think, or do you think that eating habits can actually have a greater or probably negative impact on our oral hygiene?
Actually, the diet and the oral hygiene is a bi-relation kind of a thing, sort of a thing, because bad nutrients and not having good nutrients and not having a good diet affects your teeth, and it also vice versa affects your health also. So what we recommend is to follow again the concept of good oral hygiene, which includes if you are having sugary foods, you are having carbs, you need to rinse, at least rinse after
At
that.
least rinse.
You need to reduce the frequency of the product or the food you are consuming.
Like have less chai, less coffee, maybe more green tea.
If you can do it, there's nothing
Yeah.
better than that.
Yeah.
But I know people who
Chai is
cannot,
chai.
Yeah,
but
chai
they
is chai,
cannot
there's no
quit.
replacement.
Then we just tell them to reduce the amount of frequency. If you're taking it every half an hour, every another hour, so you can and if you can't do that, then you just need to brush it.
All right, but thank you very much for recommending and for sharing with us that, ladies and gentlemen, that our diet is actually directly linked with our oral hygiene as well. So please make sure that you look after it. But thank you very much, Dr. Fatima Zahra,
very much.
for being with us. Well, wonderful to be in conversation with you, and thank you very much for being a very honest dentist. All right, so for people, obviously, अगर आप लोगों ने वैसे ही दांतों का बुरा हाल किया हुआ, you might need veneers.
तो veneers का कोई फायदा नहीं.
Other than that, I think that if you're going for an aesthetic purpose, you can certainly go and make sure that you actually visit your dentist twice a year. If not once, at least twice a year, ladies and gentlemen. That's recommended as well. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you very much, Maheen.
Thank you very much.
I hope we did great
Always
today.
a privilege working with you.
Likewise. And ladies and gentlemen, you can always write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of World This Morning. On Twitter, it's World This Morning without a G. On Dailymotion and YouTube, it's World This Morning. The fabulous repeat is going to be at 10:10 tonight. Till the next time, look after yourselves. Have a great day. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.